Well, fight fans, 17th of February, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. Who is the best heavyweight in the world? Let's have a look. The first time I saw Tyson Fury was in his second pro fight when he outclassed Marcus Zeller over 3 rounds. All I knew about Fury prior to that was he was a former ABA heavyweight champion and the son of Big John Fury, who I remember getting absolutely clobbered by Henry Akinwanda back in the day. I missed Fury's close escape against John McDermott, but saw the rematch in which Fury overpowered him in 9 rounds. Fury surprised me when he won an exciting fight over Derek Del Boy Chisora to win the British and Commonwealth title. He then had rocky moments against Nikolai Fairfax and Nevan Pajic, which made me think he was a bit chinny, but he looked sensational when fighting as a southpaw. He picked apart the always tough Martin Rogan in 5 one-sided rounds. A wide points decision over Kevin Johnson seemed to suggest he was world class, but then when he squared off against former IBF cruiserweight champion, he was heavily flawed again. Cunningham was not regarded as a puncher, but Fury used his physical strength, weight and size to overpower Cunningham and knock him out in 7 rounds. But Fury was unbelievably entertaining. The fight itself was exciting. Fury showed heart, scored a knockout, and then serenaded the Madison Square Garden faithful with a karaoke song. I was hooked on the Gypsy King at this stage and wanted nothing but the best for him. To my surprise, he turned boxer in a rematch with Chisora and absolutely outclassed him in a way that not even Vitaly Klitschko had managed. At this stage, I started to think that if he stuck to his boxing, Fury was a massive threat to Vladimir Klitschko, and he did it again in his next fight, outclassing Christian Hammer over 8. What followed was his shot at the heavyweight championship against Vladimir Klitschko. The fight was ugly, the fight was messy, but at the end of 12 rounds, Fury, who had won the mind games prior to the bout, had absolutely nullified the heavyweight champion of the world and was a deserved winner over 12 rounds. We all know what followed next. Depression, drugs, alcohol, and an enormous weight gain. But Fury showed unbelievable character to whip himself back into shape and less than 3 years later get back in the ring. I thought Fury looked a bit of a fat mess in both of his comeback fights, but he won them both, he shed some weight, and then he squared off against Wilder. Wilder, an enormous puncher, but limited technically, managed to salvage a draw with 2 knockdowns. The bout, of course, was called a draw, but it was Fury who was the moral winner, coming back Undertaker style from that last round knockdown and overcoming his personal demons, becoming a sporting superstar in the process. Back in the ring, Fury looked extremely confident and very sharp in taking apart the limited Tom Schwartz in 2 rounds. He looked a little bit too light to me and struggled a bit, but still was a convincing winner despite a bad cut against Otto Wallin. Then in the rematch against Wilder, Fury flipped the script on its head, used his size, strength, aggressive tactics, bullied Wilder and destroyed him in 7 one-sided rounds to regain the heavyweight championship. For reasons no one could understand at the time, Fury squared off against Wilder in a rematch. He was obviously a little complacent, a little bit overweight, and what followed was one of the greatest fights in heavyweight history, with Fury picking himself off the canvas on 2 occasions to knock out a dead game Wilder in 11 thrilling rounds. Long-time mandatory number 1, Dylan White was next up, completely outclassed and put away with an uppercut and shove in 6 rounds. Then, in another terrible fight, Derek Del Boy Chisora was outclassed and battered by Fury for the 3rd time in his career. And then came the atrocious bout against Francis Ngannou. Fury, obviously massively overconfident, massively unprepared, just like fellow Brit Lennox Lewis was a fair few times, nearly blew it. Against the debuting Ngannou, he was flawed. He struggled against Ngannou's infighting and his counter-punching, and he was very lucky to come away with a 10-round victory. Now he squares off against Oleksandr Usyk. The first time I caught Oleksandr Usyk was in December 2016 when he defended his WBO cruiserweight title against Thabiso Munchuno. Usyk had been a highly decorated amateur, golds in the European, World and Olympic tournaments. As a pro, he'd won his first 10 fights before picking up the WBO title against Krzysztof Glowacki. Against Munchuno, I thought that Oleksandr Usyk looked very good. He was very busy, he was very accurate, and he took apart a good fighter in Munchuno. After outscoring Michael Hunter, he was back in the ring against Marco Huck in the first bout of the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight Tournament. It was more of the same dominance from Usyk, who just outboxed and completely outclassed the always tough Marco Huck. In his next fight, he travelled to Latvia and he won the WBC Cruiserweight Championship, outscoring Marius Bradis over 12 rounds. This was a majority decision on the cards. It was a good fight. Bradis gave Usyk one of the toughest fights of his career, but I still thought Usyk won it quite soundly. And then in the final, Usyk won the WBA and IBF Championship when he put on a masterclass in completely outboxing Russia's tough Murat Gassiev over 12 rounds. Scintillating performance, that one. Next came Scouser Tony Bellew. Bellew gave Usyk lots of trouble with clever counter-punching, angles, and I thought Bellew was winning the fight and he was making Usyk look very ordinary before eventually Usyk lowered the bomb on him in 8 rounds. After the fight, Bellew was singing Usyk's praises for all to hear, claiming that he was a sensational talent. Usyk then stepped up to heavyweight, where he stopped Chaz Witherspoon in 7 of the most boring one-sided rounds you'll ever see. Then, in a perfect bit of matchmaking, he squared off against Britain's heavyweight gateholder, Derek Del Boy Chisora. Usyk won soundly enough on points, but he struggled with the intensity, strength and pressure that Chisora was putting on him. So when he squared off against Anthony Joshua for all the alphabet titles, I thought Joshua would stop him. I thought it would be too big, hit too hard and be too strong. Instead, Joshua tried to outbox Usyk, and to the surprise of absolutely no one, Usyk completely outboxed Joshua, battered him in the 12th and won a very well received 12-round decision in a good fight. In the rematch, Joshua tried to use that physicality on Usyk, and it was actually paying dividends, especially with the body shots in the 7th round. Usyk had been hit to the body earlier in his career, and Joshua was having some real success. But it was at this stage that Usyk proved his championship quality. He dug deep, got a second wind, and took over the fight, punishing Joshua in the next round and regaining complete control. After 12 rounds, Usyk was awarded the decision, but he'd shown some vulnerability. Back in the ring this August, Usyk squared off against Daniel Dubois, and the fight went exactly to the script. Well, apart from one moment in the 5th. Usyk was outboxing, outclassing and outworking Dubois when Dubois landed a borderline body shot. As we've noted before, Usyk is not keen on body shots. Usyk went down, was obviously hurt. The referee ruled it to be low. 3 minutes and 45 seconds later, Usyk finally resumed the action, took over the fight, scored 2 knockdowns, and stopped Dubois in 9. Usyk is an exceptional fighter, but he's a long way from being unbeatable, just like Tyson Fury, which makes this fight in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia even more interesting. In the ring, Oleksandr Usyk is a slick southpaw. He sets a high work rate, has excellent movement, is accurate, has a variety of punches, changes angles well, counter punches excellently, a busy right jab, a serious ring IQ, and a viciousness about him. His chin has also proven to be solid so far. In terms of weaknesses, Usyk will be the smaller man by a considerable margin. He has also shown vulnerability to body punches. Fury, on the other hand, is an enormous man. 6'9" tall, with an 85-inch reach. Fury is surprisingly agile. He has fast hands, excellent reflexes, and he boxes well from distance. He is extremely effective at nullifying his opponent's strength. He throws nice combinations. He has a good right uppercut and a snappy jab. He can also switch stances, and though he struggled against Ngannou, Fury is normally a great spoiler inside. Fury can also fight another way. He can come forward, use his size, strength, and he can push his opponents back, brawl with them, make things ugly, and take the fight away from them, as you would expect a man this size can punch. This is a very interesting boxing match. I think if Fury elects to box with Usyk, Usyk will outbox him. But I think what will happen is Fury will use his size and strength. He will lean on Usyk, concentrate on the body, wrestle him, mess him about, and eventually wear him down and win an ugly points decision over 12 rounds. Am I right, boxing fans? What's your prediction on this great fight? Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your prediction in the comments.